Hi, I'm Christine Cushing and welcome to another helping of my favorite foods. Today, I want to help you master your technique for a pro-approved Spanish seafood paella. It's going to be picture perfect and irresistibly delicious. Let's go. My seafood of choice for this particular paella is going to be scallops, shrimp, and I'm going to throw in some mussels for good measure. Okay? Step one, we're going to start preparing the seafood. I am using a beautiful paella pan here. Paella, by the way, in Spanish means both the pan and the dish. Kind of like tagine. It's the dish and the pan. First thing I'm going to do is season my seafood. First, the shrimp. And actually, one little tip for the scallops, because this is something that is my pet peeve. So right here at the tip on the end of the scallop is what's called the foot. That's what attaches the scallop to the shell. You want to remove that because it is tough and chewy. And let's just say when you're cooking anything in the Mediterranean, and Spain is of course no exception, you don't want to be afraid of the olive oil, right? So my pan is getting super hot. I'm going to go in with first the shrimp. And the scallops. Okay, a little bit of cracked black. I salted them. Now, right out of the gate, I've kind of broken from tradition a little bit in that I'm searing the seafood. You could just put these in towards the end and steam them, but I like getting a little bit of that texture. So look at that. Literally a minute and a half aside. This one's gonna have a lot of energy because it's really all about the mastering the technique, right? So I'm adjusting my temp here. And because my scallops are small, I'm just gonna cook them for a very short period of time. Again, getting a bit of color, a bit of texture, and a little bit of shimmy here. Always get so excited when I'm making a paella. Okay, a little bit of shimmy. Remove the seafood. You see that color that I'm getting there? That's what I want. If I do it in the traditional method, the seafood is just gonna steam and it's gonna be totally fine. But what's gonna happen is I'm not gonna get this texture and color. Look at that. Oh, already looking fantastic. So you see they're just a couple of minutes away from doneness, okay? So that when I put them back in, they're gonna be perfectly cooked. So my timing will be right and I'm gonna get added texture from that. To master a paella, it's really not about the recipe per se. It's about the ingredients, first and foremost. It's about technique, which I'm showing you right now. And it's about the timing. Next thing, we start sofrito. So the first step in the sofrito, again, I'm gonna put my pan on, my paella, add the rest of the olive oil. It feels like a lot, but there's so many ingredients in here. And in are gonna go, this is just basically one onion. This paella is for 4 people. I found this cute little paella when I was in Valencia. Actually, let me correct myself on that. I didn't find it, my husband found it. We were in the market in Valencia and he was just bent on getting it, on bringing it home. And I have to say, I resisted because I thought, oh man, here we are, where are we gonna fit it, where are we gonna put it? But that's why we have this beautiful little perfect paella for 4 people. Because typically they're massive, right? So it's quite challenging to master that technique. So it's good to start with a smaller one. Already, temperature, I want it to be kind of going towards medium-low here, not higher than that. Then we can talk about the piquillo. This is now the beginning of the sofrito. Onions, peppers. Look at these peppers. This is the quintessential Spanish pepper. I love them. I'm just obsessed with these peppers. Nothing really compares to them They are from Spain. They're very tough to find, but I generally find them in a tin or in glass. So these were brined, gently brined. So they're not super tangy and salty. It's just like a delicate brine. But just look at the texture of these. Amazing. I'm gonna keep my eye here because we are talking about technique. I wanna make sure the temperature is just right. This dish is all about what's happening a la minute, right? You can't just wander off. So even though we're talking here, I wanna make sure things are going perfectly smooth, as in no burning of the onions, right? I want these to caramelize a bit and really render some sweetness. Next ingredient that's super important is the pimenton. So when I was in Valencia, by the way, I wanted to highly recommend that you watch, I have another video called Paella Valenciana, and that's the traditional, original, famous paella, which has no seafood in it. I was shocked too, I know, when I went there. Always smoked paprika, but not spicy. Look at already the color happening there, right? It's all about that. You can't even, that paprika, that smoke that's happening mixed with the onions and the piquillo. I close my eyes, I'm smelling this, I know I'm in Spain, even though I'm still in my kitchen. Next thing to go in after that caramelizes a little bit, you know there's gonna be some tomato, that's really traditional in the sofrito, this base. Also, a couple of cloves of garlic going in. Garlic. And I want to make sure my temperature isn't too high when the garlic goes in so that I don't burn it, right? So let's put the tomatoes in too. And now I'm going to crank the heat a little bit more. I'm really doing it by eye. You will have a full recipe below, but this is like learning how to ride a bike. You really want to get the feel of it. So that's why I also wanted to show it to you in a small pan, because when you get into the bigger pans, it's harder to manage it, right? Ridiculous, the aroma, just crazy good. There's a lot of shimmying in making the paella. Now I want to season in layers, not too much at a time. I season the seafood. I'm going to go in with a little bit of salt here with the sofrito. And then I'm going to taste the stock as the rice is cooking, just to manage it. What have we not even talked about yet? The rice. So I want to introduce you to the rice of choice. In Valencia, they use la bomba. It is a beautiful, and a few other varieties that are locally grown around that Mediterranean, where the rivers kind of flow out into the Mediterranean. It's really stunning, but it's a very specific kind of rice. And what makes it ideal for this particular dish, for this paella, is, I want to show it to you. It is a rice that is short grain, but quite specific in its short graininess, let's say. I want to show it to you. It's sort of round, not elongated, and as it plumps up, it really just expands so it can absorb 3 times its weight in moisture. If you don't have a good rice, you just cannot get the pro-approved paella certification. Not a chance. So I want this almost to come down to just be pasty, not even any moisture left. And can I say, the #1 way that your paella can turn into an absolute fail is to even think of putting chorizo in it. That is like right away, 2 thumbs down. It's time for the rice to meet the sofrito. You can't even imagine how appetizing this smells already. So this step here is really coating the rice in all of those flavors, the oil, that's sofrito, in preparation for what's happening next. And what's happening next? Oh, it's getting even more exciting. I like to add a little bit of sherry to deglaze my pan here. So let's have a little sherry facial. You can go with a dry white wine, that's probably most common, but the sherry for me, because it's been aged in some oak, it's giving me more complexity, a touch of sweetness, and I particularly love it with the shrimp that I'm adding here. But really, you can do whatever you like. Just don't use red wine. Don't do that. So I just want to evaporate the sherry or the white wine, whatever I use. It's going to evaporate super quickly. And then I'm going to add another very important ingredient in any paella is the saffron. Good quality saffron going in, and the stock or the broth. Because this is seafood, I'm going with a seafood stock here. A great little tip, if you're in a pinch, you can always use clam juice. Okay, in going with the stock. Again, the full recipe is below for you. Okay, so I just want to bring this back now to a boil. And now we're in the really important part. So far, the rice will not have absorbed any moisture and won't have changed. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes for the rice to start getting ready to plump up. Okay, 8 minutes in, I have a decision to make here now. This is very important. So now the rice has started to absorb liquid. It's almost cooked. It doesn't really take that long. So here's where you have to make some judgment calls. What I'm going to do here is taste it just to see how the texture is. It still has a bite. Oops. It still has a bit of a bite, but it's definitely almost tender. So here's what I'm going to do. Have a look in here. There's still not quite a bit of moisture, so I'm saving some stock. I'm going to add that stock to it because the next thing I want to do is add my mussels and steam them in there. So you notice how I'm not stirring anything. I want the heat to be at a fairly kind of medium high so it's bubbling. And now I'm going to put in the mussels. And these are going to steam while the rice continues to cook. And we get that beautiful, what's called socará. So socará in the Spanish terminology means that crispy bottom of the rice that they absolutely love. Come on. So I'm just gonna arrange these so that they steam properly. And this is gonna be, again, another 3 or 4 minutes. You see these guys are opening up now? Now I'm cranking up the heat. Parsley chopping. And this here is all about just how it looks. And then what's in this plate, I also don't want to lose that. That's the beautiful juices from the seafood. I'm going to pour that in too. We're getting right to the nitty-gritty. Now here's another test. Is my temperature right? What's happening inside? I'm going to take my spoon. I learned this in Valencia. I'm going to take my spoon and kind of insert it under there. And I can feel that it's super loose. So again, I can crank the heat up a bit because I want to get that crispiness underneath. The last thing I want to do is just sprinkle in the peas. I mean, come on. Right? They are going to approve this. More peas. For color, really. Okay. This is right on the money. I can hear it. I can smell it. Everything looks perfect. I'm going to just check the corner because I want to make sure I've got that crustiness there. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I can't see you because I'm all steamed, but this baby's looking good. Yeah, you can really, it's all kind of stuck to the bottom, and that's what we want. So I'm going to turn it off. It's incredible how rice, some seafood, just a few aromatics can take you to all crazy places. Last thing, I'm going to let it rest for a couple of seconds, give it a nice handful of fresh parsley. And you're going to be calling me when you make this, seriously. I promised you a pro-approved Spanish seafood paella. Look at this baby. So to get that pro approval, you gotta have that socarat, that crispy bottom. So I'm going in with my official Valencia spoon. You see this? You hear that? More importantly, crazy good. I'm gonna taste that. Oh yeah. I can smell it from here. Insane. Wow. That is a multiple thumbs up. So great. And you get that real caramelization from the bottom of that. And now the other thing, the seafood is perfectly cooked. So that little pro tip of pre-searing both the scallops and the shrimp really gives you that head start. So you only have to worry about cooking the mussels properly. And everything is magically, amazingly cooked. Like, look at these scallops are perfect. Oh yeah. Thank you for joining me on another helping of my favorite foods. A little bit of a celebration, some technique here. Hope you really try this recipe. Thumbs up, like, share, let me know what's happening in your kitchen. Thank you so much.